My pleasure.
So has Grover Norquist's mythical hold on the Republican Party finally been broken, do you think?
Well, it does appear that that is the case. I think after an election, after poll, after poll, after poll, some Republicans are catching on to the idea that you can't get out of the deficit crisis just by cutting, and that we are going to have to raise taxes.
Of all the permutations you've heard of that are being offered, the ideas that are floating around, is there any deal that is likely to be agreed upon which you could vote for at this point in time?
Well, I'm not sure we've seen the clarity yet in terms of what people are proposing. But to be very honest with you, Elliot, I get a little bit nervous. You know, I get nervous that instead of bringing back the old Clinton-era tax rates for the wealthiest people, 39.6, there may be a way to wiggle out of that. I get very nervous when I hear the president and others continue to talk about, quote-unquote, entitlement reform, which I'm afraid is just another word for cuts in Medicare and Medicaid, maybe even Social Security. You know, in the first two negotiations, in 2010 and 2011, the Congress cut $900 billion in programs for working people. The wealthy did not contribute one nickel to a deficit reduction. And I think now is the time where the Democrats and the president have got to stand firm and say, excuse me, the middle class is hurting in this terrible recession. The number of people who are in poverty is at an all-time high. We are not going to balance the budget on the backs of the most vulnerable. And the wealthy and the large corporations are going to have to start paying their fair share of taxes.
Look, Senator, as you know, I not only agree with you, I love to hear you state it with the clarity that you always do. It seems to me there is still unbelievable ambiguity about what the Republicans are willing to do. There are basically three ideas floating out there. One, that you would cap the total amount any one person could take in deductions. Two, that you would somehow close certain loopholes. Or three, that you would raise marginal rates. The third, I gather, is what you think we should do. But I'm still not sure which the Republicans are willing to do.
And Elliot, I've not heard that any Republican is in favor of the latter.
Correct.
I think it's kind of mushy, and revenue is a big word. You can have reactionary ways of raising revenue. To my point, the president cannot and must not yield on the most important point, that we go back to the tax rates of the Clinton era. That's where the money is, and that's where we've got to go.
Look, you are exactly right, and as you say, revenue is a big, very elastic word, and simply agreeing to raise revenue doesn't mean it will be done in a way that is progressive,
Exactly.
Doesn't mean it will be done in a way that is fair. Did Warren Buffett's op-ed in today's New York Times, which I thought was a powerful statement that agrees with you, did that have an impact, do you think, within Republican circles?
Well, you know, Warren Buffett is not a great favorite of the Republicans, but I hope that they catch his point. What is he saying? He said, hey, I'm a multi-billionaire. I have never heard of any investor rejecting a good way to make money, a good investment, just because of taxes. But here's the other point, Elliot, and it's really, I think, at the heart and soul of what we're discussing. The middle class in this country is disappearing. Do you really balance the budget by going after people who have already seen a significant decline in their standard of living, or do you ask the people on top, as Buffett reminds us, who are doing phenomenally well and whose effective tax rate, think Mitt Romney, is extremely low? This really is a no-brainer.
He makes it clear in that article that the top tax rate on the top 400 taxpayers is about 19.5%, 19 point some odd, and that is simply, as he says, it's unfair, and it has led to the complete maldistribution of income and wealth over the last 15 to 20 years. And he says, do something about it, and that's why he should be a voice the Republicans listen to. But I'm with you, I don't think they do, which is kind of mysterious.
And Elliot, I'll tell you this, what is really grotesque is you may have seen on some of the network TV in op-eds, you have people like Lloyd Blankfein, the head of Goldman Sachs. You have Wall Street billionaires who in many ways caused this terrible recession and all the suffering that's taking place. They're going on television, these billionaires, and are saying, you know, we've got to cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. That is totally obscene.
Yep. You are correct, Senator. I want to switch gears on you for a minute, just in the moments we have left. One of the reasons it has been so hard, even in the Senate, or particularly in the Senate, to get things accomplished is the filibuster. We have this brief open window to get filibuster reform. Where are we? Will you have the magic 51 votes? And will Majority Leader Reid be willing to use the 51 votes to get real reform?
I can't give you a definitive answer, but I think we are making real progress. And you are quite right. You know, people are angry because they are hurting and Congress isn't responding. And one of the reasons that Congress is not responding is we have Republicans playing an extraordinary role in terms of obstructionism, filibuster after filibuster. So I think you have folks who are working really hard on this issue. Senators Merkley, Udall, and others. I think Harry Reid is coming along. I certainly believe that if we're going to do the people's business, we can't get bogged down in filibusters, and we need real reform there.
You are so right. I hope everybody listens to you. As always, it is a great joy to have Vermont's independent Senator Bernie Sanders on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Elliot.
For more on those Republican impure thoughts on taxes and what they could mean for the country's financial health, I'm joined by